Hello, everybody. James Cuthbertson, Chief Revenue Officer at Relative Insight. I'm coming to you with some extremely exciting news. Relative Insight is launching a brand new product. It's called Agent Optimizer, and our goal is to make your agentic CX deliver on its potential. So let's dive in and find out a little bit more about it. First things first, let's set the scene. So your business, like every other business at the moment, is being asked and pushed to invest big into agentic customer experience. And right now, what that really means is chatbots. Put simply, they are not strong enough to deliver a quality customer experience across the board yet. What this means is the financial gain that's being promised by deploying this AI agentic layer is simply not being felt, and ultimately is in some occasions costing money through either a more complicated customer experience or through actually the loss of customers. So let's talk a little bit about how we can support and help this rollout. So, firstly, through our trustworthy deterministic analysis that we've been applying to voice of the customer data for nearly a decade, we're able to produce insights that will be applied across many thousands of interactions. Each time, those successes will be improved by a tiny percent because of improving the agent. And what I mean by successes is the way that these bots are typically measured, as I'm sure most of you know, is ultimately a successful outcome is deemed by, can a person land on a bot, um, go through their query and self-serve, and ultimately not need to be escalated to a human agent, which is deemed as a failure. Some people call success deflection, but it's the same thing. And so what we're saying is that by improving those percentages, we're able to build a significant hike in that success or deflection rate over time, which ultimately allows you to provide a human grade CX experience through an agentic layer and start to realize some of the financial gain that's being touted around the market by deploying these AI agents. So let's dive into some more details. So how exactly does it work? It's a three-stage process. So the first is by gathering up historical voice of the customer data. And what I mean by that is survey, call transcripts, reviews, social, etc. That we are working with on behalf of our customers every day, but you will have sitting within your organization. We can use that to help the bot create a more native and more authentic sounding baseline. So the language it will use will more closely mirror that of your customers and your employees. Secondly, we can then start to use some of our deterministic and trustworthy analytics to create improvements. And some examples would be, how do those chat conversations that succeed look versus the ones that fail? What are the differences thematically and linguistically, from a tone point of view, timing? You name it. What are the attributes? Secondly, what are the conversations that create confusion, or cause the customer to feel frustrated? How do they look versus those ones that just feel really smooth, and where the customer is much happier and more delighted? And then the final thing is, like, conversations where the bot is exhibiting nonsensical, inappropriate language. We can call those out and identify them. And once we've run through that process, we're left with this list of insights, effectively, which we then configure into the agent itself. And really, the way that works is fourfold. The first is that we can create new RAG rules. Secondly, we can improve the prompt injection. The prompt engineering can become much more data-led. And then finally, we can build in more and more few shots, these hard-coded rules that around the agent. Once those have been deployed, then obviously we're then into a test and monitor phase, which is number 3. So what we're looking for is, we want to be able to test the fact that those improvements are leading to less confusion, less frustration, an increase in success, even if it is incremental. And ultimately, we're then going to want to repeat the exercise, typically on a monthly or quarterly basis, depending on the volume going through the agent, in order to continue to make those wins and those improvements. And by continually improving, you're also preparing yourself and readying yourself for changes in your industry or within your company or within your product set. The second is it also allows for societal drift in language around particular topics. And the final thing is it creates guardrails around the underlying AI that you'll be leveraging for your agent. So just to put that into a schematic, you can see over the left-hand side is those data sources that I talked about. And then obviously 1A indicates the historic chats that you've had. Run through that deterministic, trustworthy analytics, and then the outputs over on the right-hand side. And then 3 obviously being this monitoring and an iterative improvement. So here's an example. So over on the left-hand side is the original conversation that happened between a human and an agentic CX bot. And over on the right-hand side are the insights that we've identified as improvements through our analysis process. So I'll just give you a moment to read the one on the left. Right, superb. So let me just whiz you through these insights. Firstly, up the top, the bot missed the opportunity to use the person's name for familiarity. So that's like an example of tonal change that we can make. The second one highlighted there in yellow is you can see that the humans called their primary payment method primary, and the bot has then come back with default. And so that's going to feel jarring. And what we would want to see is the bot be more kind of mirroring of the human language because it would prevent confusion. The third insight is you can see that the bot's taken this opportunity to try and gather up a late payment. But unfortunately, this person doesn't have a valid card for payment at the moment. That isn't their fault because they've just made a change. And so again, that's going to cause a moment of frustration. So we would want to then hard code that kind of behavior out. And then the final thing at the bottom you can see is that the bot is trying to direct this person towards a help article, kind of FAQ style thing. We see that that is causing frustration, actually caused the human to leave the conversation. And so we would need to have a look into making some amendments there. So this is some like just really easy to grasp ideas and examples of how we can iteratively improve these bots. So just to summarize, brand new product from Relative Insight, Agent Optimizer. We are able to work with you to actually create bots from the ground up as well. And so please, if you have any ideas, if you're exploring this in any way, we'd be absolutely delighted to have a chat with you further about it. Thank you very much.